Can you hear me?
It's 7 p.m. and it's Tuesday night. I got my laptop on and I feel alright. I got a few joints rolled and my munchies made. Got my headphones on and I close the door, don't disturb me. It's time to stand up tall and say some things about the shitty world we're living in with the boys at Raconteurs News. To Raconteurs, to Raconteurs, to Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News. Oh yeah.
Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Raconteurs News. A little bit late. I do apologise for that. We had one or two technical issues. That being me being as thick as the proverbial and not being able to get the stuff started. But anyway, better late than never. It is the 30th of October 2018. And, well, I'm hoping you've had a pleasant day. Mine's not been too bad at all. I had a joint and watched some American Office this afternoon and laid on the settee and just monged out a bit. So I've really had a productive day. But as tonight goes along, you'll see how exactly how productive it's been. It's been a little bit better than yours today, I think, Paul. Paul Webster's joining me as usual. How you doing, Paul, mate? Are you been working today?
No, mate. I'm still off sick, like I was last night when I told you. But you always forget. No, I'm still off with my shoulder. It's been cold. Being cold this morning, it was a little bit more painful. Still dosed up on painkillers, but you know, getting through it, mate.
That's what needs to happen. And Andy's just come in at the last minute, like not all heroes wear capes. Some of them drink out of a coffee cup, and he's come along and sorted everything out for us at the last minute. Because if it were left to me and Paul, we'd probably still not be on air. So Andy, how you doing, mate? All right, good day.
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I've been on Grandad duties today, so it's always a good day when I'm doing that.
Excellent. Well, as somebody who I know will know all about doing Grandad duty is our guest this evening. So without further ado, Webby, you booked our guest for tonight. So this is, I think, the third time that we've had this particular guest on Raconteurs News. So why don't you introduce our guest for this evening, please, Paul?
Well, I think all I really need to do is say his name, because I think he's quite a well-known guy, this fella, nowadays. I haven't had a chance to speak to Chris much over the last few years. He's been a busy fella, but I'd like to introduce Chris Spivey. How are you doing, Chris?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's fine, mate.
There seems to be a lot of talking over each other going on.
Yeah, it seems to be your end, that, pal. How are you doing, Chris?
Oh, look, I think what you've got there, Chris, if you're listening to the chat room, you need to mute the YouTube, otherwise it comes down to us. That's got rid of it, I think. Yeah. I'll just put your volume up a tad, mate, because you're just a bit low.
Bit loud.
No, you're a bit low, actually. I mean,
that's not like me.
We never usually have a problem with Chris Spivey being too quiet, do we?
No, we say that's not normal, is it? How about if we move a bit closer? How's that?
That's great.
That's brilliant, mate.
So, Chris, where would you like to start, mate? I mean, obviously, I've been bombarded with questions to ask you, but there's obviously things that we won't be talking about. So, where would you like to start? I mean, obviously, people who follow you and who know you and who are buying your book and things, they might have an intake book. We're getting a lot of new listeners coming in now. So if you can give us a brief outline of where you started, why you started. Obviously, there's a bit that you might have to jump over and then, you know, fill in the other bits.
Right. And my camera crap. So I started writing for the Sovereign Independent in newspaper. That was the biggest independent newspaper in Southern Ireland in 2012, and I was writing for them about 6 months, and then this computer, this kid, he set me up my own website, and I left Sovereign Independent, which is now folded anyway, and just started writing for myself. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So what was it you started to write about? What was it that inspired you to start writing for yourself, and what were the subjects you started with?
Just the way that people were being treated by the government, really. I mean, it's obvious that we were being lied to, you know, and I mean, what really got me started on the book, like most people, was 9/11. You know, and the more you look into it, and the more you realise that it's impossible for the official version to be correct. You know, what exactly happened is still anybody gets, but you know, you got to make your own mind up. But one thing is for sure, 9/11 certainly wasn't carried out by Muslims hijacking aeroplanes. You know, and as you say, it's sort of like the more you look into things, the more doors open, and the deeper you get into it, you know, the more things come together. Well, obviously now I've been doing it for 6 years, and that's day in, day out, just like looking into things, and you realise that nothing is as it appears, even like the so-called alternative movement, you know, which is, I believe, mostly controlled by government forces, and you know, you just got to start looking outside of what is presented to you, you know, and this is where I'm at now. I mean, I could continue writing about, you know, the government doing this and the government doing that, and the government taking us to World War III and whatnot, but it's quite obvious to me that this isn't the case, you know. There is not going to be a war, there's not going to be a World War III. The New World Order, as the New World Order, is already here, and the idea is just control and money on their part, you know, greed, control, and whatever. And this is sort of as good as it gets, you know. Nothing is going to change. We're not going to be making income or anything like that.
Well, one of the questions I always get asked is, if you know, particularly if you're talking about chemtrails or anything like that, well, they're doing it to them, so why would they do it? You know where I'm coming from. It's that argument, and yeah. My answer to that has always been that you're putting yourself into that position of what you would feel and what you would do and what you wouldn't do. These people. You're saying like the government, the elites, or whatever. I mean, I'm including banking system and everything in this, but the people up at this very top echelons that do have this power, these people don't think like us, do they? They're not like us at all.
Not like them. No. They're, some would say aliens. You know, they don't. From a very early age, almost from birth, you know, they're taught not to love. You know, there's no love, there's no heart, they have no feelings, you know, they're psychopaths, for want of another word, you know, there's no guilt there on their part, there's no compassion, there's nothing, they're just dead, they are the walking dead, you know, and they don't care about us, quite the opposite, they hate us, you know, and they would like to get rid of a lot of us, and they probably are. I mean, they're
not doing a bad job of starting, are they? Really?
No. I mean, I've been thinking about this $7.5 billion number lately, and Is it really that high? I mean, are we being killed off in mass numbers and they're not telling us? You know, who's to say? Who counted the 7.5 billion? You know, who's to say we're not at 6 billion now? Because people are dropping like wildfires. 1 in 3 of us is going to get cancer. So, you know, they're saying, we've got to sustain the population. We've got to sustain the population.
Well, it's like what you were saying, Chris. It's what you were saying when you're saying the New World Order's here. Yes, they do want these numbers reduced, and people are thinking, well, it's going to be a World War III because that's how they're going to have to kill everybody. Well, as you've just...
Because...
Well, what I'm saying...
I mean, how long... I'm at the moment, I'm going through all my old articles, which I first started writing for my website, and getting rid of, trying to reduce the size of the website. And I'm reading the exact same things now that I was writing in 2012, like, you know, America's threatening North Korea for launching missiles. That was in 2012. It's still going in 2018. Nothing has changed, you know. Big Russian, we're sending big armadas to the Middle East because there's going to be a war between Iran and Israel. It never happened.
No,
all that is just keep people living in perpetual fear.
That's what I'm getting at, Chris, because you said, like, you were saying the New World Order's here, and you differentiated it between that and the World War III. What I'm saying is the World War III started almost directly after World War II, and that was this slow war of death where people are being promoted. You know, well, smoking was good for you. Oh, no, it's not really. Oh, you know, radiation and chemo comes from chemical weapons. All this kind of stuff is they've been able to put things into place. You've got the things like the Georgia Guidestones, 8 different languages telling you the first one is to keep the Earth's population below 500 million. And you, as you just clearly said, we're 6.7 billion over there.
We're told. That's what we're told. But I don't see it, Mark. I think because, I mean, when I think back to 10, 15 years ago, and girls of 17, 18, they all have babies, you know. Now, people don't. Girls aren't having babies as young. People are dying a lot younger. On a whole, I say, 1 in 3 people is going to get cancer now. That's the statistic.
Well, so the populations are on the way down, aren't they?
Well, they are, but we're still getting this rise in these so-called billions of people. And I just don't buy it, Mark. You know, I say that they're just quoting this number as a fear number. You know, we're going to start off because the Earth can't sustain the population. I don't believe that either. I mean, there is a statistic that the whole world population could live in Texas in a 3-bedroom house with a back garden each, you know. And indeed, the times I've travelled up and down the country, you go on a motorway and you don't see nothing. You don't see houses. You just see greenery for miles and miles. You know, so how can we be overpopulated? I mean, sure, London's overpopulated. The big cities are overpopulated, but you have all these areas of greenery, and you don't see a house for miles and miles and miles. You know, and say, oh, well, there's no infrastructure there, but like everything is pro rata, Mark, isn't it? You know. If people move there, you build a school there, you build shops there, you know, you put cattle there and farms there and whatnot. And so this idea that the world is overpopulated is just total nonsense, you know. And I say, I think it's been used. There's 7.5 billion people are revising, you know, but by the year 2025, we're going to be up to 10 billion or whatever, and there's going to be no food left. That's just rubbish. I don't believe it for a minute. I don't believe there's going to be a world war. I say, as I've been looking back and clearing my website out, I'm just reading the same headlines from 2012 that are in the Daily Mail today. You know, Buster don't like us, and well, we all go to space together. You know, so well, I say space, not outer space, but you know, they're on these so-called space stations or whatnot together. So how can we all hate each other? And it's just used to create fear and anxiety, and you know, keep us in this constant state of unease. And I see this unease every day. You know, I walk around the supermarket. Nobody looks anybody in the eye anymore.
No. I noticed that walking down the street, Chris, where I grew up, you couldn't walk down the street without somebody saying, "You're right," or "Good morning," or anything like that. You don't get that, especially with the younger ones. The older ones still do.
You know, I look at people and I think, you miserable bastard, like, you know, what's a smile hurt if you make eye contact with someone? What's a smile hurt? But no one smiles, no one talks to each other anymore, you know, and this is how the world's going. And this is how they want it. They don't want us all united and together, if you like. And everyone's, you know, no one trusts anybody anymore. Everybody hates Muslims, apart from me. And you know why?
See, I don't see this, Chris. I know a lot of Muslims. I work with many Muslims. I don't see this. I hear it from them when they're talking about it, about other things. But I speak to Muslims a lot, and especially people talking about this Sharia law stuff. And every one of them tell me that their families, whatever generations, came here to get away from that. They don't want that here. So there's a lot of stuff being whipped up through the mainstream media. You know, they seem to have got a poster boy that's doing a good job at pointing real issues out, but kind of leaving other massive issues, and it's whipping a certain demographic up.
Yeah, well, I learned in 2012 about the Muslims, and I looked into the statistics, and that they embrace the majority. I'm not saying all. The majority, you know, have more British, the so-called British values than what we have. You know.
Well, they've still got family values. These people. Do you know what I mean? They care about their families, and our families have been destroyed.
You know, or they'll all stick to their own. But what we do, we'll stick to our own families, because, you know, family is important.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't they look after their children? You know, and you know, the vast majority of Asians and whatnot, you know, they're brighter, educational wise. You know, not so much street-wise, but you know, they're better than that.
I know, mate. I know both. I know them both. But I know the streetwise, and I know them. I know both, mate.
And they're not hard anymore. You know, they're not terrorists, but sooner or later, when you're being persecuted, which they are being persecuted by our government, you know, when you're being persecuted, sooner or later, you're going to turn around, and you can't help but be alienated from the white population, if you like. You know, if you're, you know, constantly being abused and constantly being eyed with suspicion and whatnot, and like, you know, Mark, the majority are not like that. You know, I mean, I have over 1,000 Asians or Muslims on my Facebook friends. You know, and none of them try to push Islam onto me. You know, none of them try to convert me to Islam. They all know that I'm not religious. I haven't got any time for religion anyway. You know, but it doesn't stop us being friends, Mark. You know.
Mm. Well, for me, it's the way I look at it, that people take their information from wherever they take their information from.
On the mainstream media, Mark.
Yeah, but I mean, some people grow up with certain views of the world from parents. I certainly grew up with certain views from my parents. But the thing is, there's a lot of people who can't hold a belief and then bring something else in without disengaging from that belief. They can't
separate the two.
Yeah, they can't hold two thoughts without having a belief in one of. And that's the trouble we have, because the education system doesn't teach children to do that. It teaches them to go, like that. That's what the education system does.
And that's a mess as well, Mark, isn't it? So
So going back to 9/11, like you said, I think there's a lot of people that 9/11 woke up. A lot of people, because it is glaringly obvious.
Mark, there's no two ways about it. The official story is
it's rubbish.
True. You know,
it's absolutely rubbish. We had Dave von Kleist on, who made 9/11 in plain sight, and he said the only thing that they tried to do everything they could to assassinate his character and everything, and the only thing they couldn't get him for, because he didn't have a belief in what happened. All he asked was questions that nobody wanted to answer. And that's a lot like where we all come from on this show, because we've all got questions. And my biggest thing is, when you're attacked, when you're made an example of, or you're ridiculed, or it's even made illegal to question something, you know you're on the money.
It is illegal to question things. I know that from experience, Mark. You know, and if we take Matthew Taylor, now I don't know if you know Matthew Taylor, but he's his own worst enemy. But he's been in court today for being sentenced for harassing Katie Bourne, the Sussex PCC.
Right.
You know, and they're really taking him to the cleaners, you know. You don't know his life from his elbow at the moment, you know. And he really looked like he was going to get prison. I think he got a suspended sentence. And I say Matthew's his own worst enemy, but asking questions is not a crime in theory, but it is. It is, because they turn it around, and asking questions seems to amount to harassment.
Again, though, we talk about this a lot. Chris, what they're using a commercial law that doesn't apply, and they're bastardizing it for you, taking you into a jurisdiction that doesn't apply to you. And it's all this civil bollocks that people have got to unravel to find out what a crime actually is. A crime is harm and loss. I don't care what anybody wants to bring up, because
you're talking about common law there, Mark.
Well, that's the only law.
This is the thing, though. In theory, it is, but they've made it so that admiralty law now, you know, supersedes, if you like.
But that's what I'm saying. They're doing that by force.
They're doing that, and it's all right saying, "Oh no, what you got to do? You got to do this, and you got to do that." But you try telling that somebody standing in front of a judge and being threatened with prison, you know? What do you do? What do you do?
There's nothing you can do, mate.
There is no justice. Justice doesn't exist in this country. The law, from the police to the judiciary, they are corrupt as they come.
Definitely.
You know, they are corrupt to the core.
Worst criminals I've ever met. Worst criminals I've ever met, judges and solicitors, mate.
Exactly. So, you know, it's also saying, yeah, you know, that admiralty law or statute law or whatever, they don't apply to us. But you try telling that when the police come breaking down your door and carting you off, you know. Well, it applies to you then. You know, there's nothing that you can do about it, you know.
That's what the problem is, because I've had my own brushes with the law and the court system, and I've used their laws, I've used their system, and they don't like it. They don't like you using their laws against them, because it shows the corruption. I asked one question, Chris, when in a county court. I said, what jurisdiction is the judge standing under today? I was then escorted into that room 4 minutes later with 2 armed police in front of me, 2 behind me, and 1 either side of me, with a police sergeant that was asking my friends, does anybody know why we're here? So that's how corrupt these bastards are.
Exactly. Well, I say, I know from my own experience, and I have restraining orders out on me, which are not designed to protect other people. They're designed to stop me speaking out.
Exactly.
You know, and so we had this big situation where my name was splashed all over the mainstream media. You know, what a bastard I am, and what a horrible man, and whatnot. And I could do nothing to defend myself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing at all. If I spoke out and said, no, this isn't right, that didn't happen, this is how it happened, I then find myself facing 5 years in prison for breaking my restraining order, you know?
Yeah.
So where's the justice there?
Well, that's it. On side, isn't it?
And this is being used on Matthew Taylor, and I say I haven't got a lot of time for Matthew because I think he's a right prat. But by the same token, I can see how he's been silenced by the corrupt judiciary, you know, and scared into silence. You know, taking away your liberty. I mean, who wants to go to prison?
Did you want to say
something? Chris, I was just going to ask you a question. First of all, I wondered if you could get a little bit closer to your microphone because I
can. The only thing is, the closer I get, the bigger my head gets, and next thing you'll be looking down my tonsil. The closest you can get, I mean, that'd be brilliant. I can get that close. It's embarrassing. I'm almost kicking myself. Let's try to turn it up a little bit. Really not good with these kind of things. Is that going down or up?
That's better.
That's better. Yeah.
That is.
Apart from my camera's now facing the deck.
Yeah, that's
you pay peanuts to get monkeys.
What I wanted to ask you,
this is your fault, Jason.
Yeah, it can't be mine. Nothing's ever my fault. Yeah, go for it. I'm listening.
I was just going to say, there were quite a few people in the chat room beforehand that had tried to get onto your website. What's going on with your website at the moment? Is it still available? Because there were,
it is, but a lot of it's down to the security software that we use. Now, I'm not good with computers. I'm not even going to pretend. I thought you would get a camera to focus on me, but I just show everyone in the room. There we go. Okay. The security system is very strict because I'm under constant attack. Okay. And a good portion of the £266 a month that I have to pay to keep myself online goes on security. And what happens, it tends to flag up a lot of IP addresses that are totally innocent as being hostile, you know. So anyone who can't get on, all I can suggest is that you change your IP address by turning on and off your router, and see if that helps.
Or you use a VPN, yeah. So the website's still there. That's the point. Is the website site is still there?
It's still there, yeah. It's still going.
So if anybody's trying to find it, then
www.Chris
carry on trying to find it.
www.chrisspivey.org.
Sound.
You got it?
Is there any questions from the chat room, Andy? Sorry, Chris. Is there any questions from the chat room, Andy?
Yeah.
I haven't been monitoring it that closely at the minute. There was one thing from Super Leeds, and he was asking, can we ask what Chris's thoughts are on the Joe Cox event? Because I know Super Leeds has got a particular interest in that one. Any thoughts on that one, Chris? Is it something you've looked at in any detail?
Yeah, I've written in a lot of detail about the Joe Cox incident, which was a total fraud. Joe Cox was a created persona, specifically to be set up to be shot. You know, if you go on my site and type in Joe Cox, I'll tell you there's 3 or 4 major articles on the subject, which proves beyond all reasonable doubt that she wasn't attacked outside the library in where was it? I forget the name of the village.
I can't remember it. I know Richard Deol did some work.
It was Batley.
It was in Batley, yeah.
Batley
I think the reason Super Leeds has got a particular interest in this, and it's maybe a bit of a curveball for you, but I believe the story that Super Leeds told us was that he went to school with her sister, and he knew Joe Cox.
Yeah. If he says he did, he says he did, but
He went to school with her. Yeah, he just confirmed that in the chat room.
I don't believe in myself, and I've got a good bookful of information on the Joe Cox murder, and it doesn't add up.
I know Richard D. Hall did a lot of work on it, and he followed the storyline as far as along the alleged killer. I can't remember his name. Thomas Mayo,
wasn't it? Something like that.
Thomas
Mayo.
Thomas Mayo. That's it. And they had, and it showed video footage, and it seemed to have this fella that was being arrested that obviously wasn't this other fella. Richard put all that stuff together, and then he was intimating as well that this figure Joe Cox was she real, or he left it open, as questions, because there's a lot of strange stuff that's going on. There's a lot of, and it's to think that anybody who the likes of me or yourself, no, I would say regular people who do go to work, come home, watch TV, blah blah blah, go out at the weekends, to think that they would know what is going on in the world when they just get it from the mainstream, without even asking other questions about anything. But people do. I mean, I certainly did 20 years ago. I thought I knew everything.
Going for surgery was a curveball in itself. You try to get to see your MP. And you
I tried. Andy Burnham, I was kept away from him for 4 years, Chris, by his personal assistant.
Exactly, but we're meant to believe that Joe Cox held this regular library or surgery at this library, which she didn't. I mean, she has her own office. Why didn't she hold the surgery at her office? Why hold it in a public library? And why at 1:30 on a Thursday afternoon, or was it Friday afternoon? When everyone's at work and whatnot. It just none of it makes sense whatsoever. Why? They made a big thing about her being stabbed to death and shot to death almost as an afterthought. Well, if you're going to kill someone, you shoot them. If you're going to kill them, not stab them and then shoot them. What's the point of that?
Well, you were saying there's a lot of these strange things going on, and I touched on that. Again, Richard D. Hall did work on the taxi driver. We went on the shooting spree. Can't quite remember his name off the top of my head. I can see his face as well. I can't remember. Do you know what I mean? Was it Derek Bird? Derek Bird.
The film's online. It's called Patsy Driver.
That's it.
Richard actually gave me a copy of that video because I helped him out at one of his talks a couple of years back. Yeah.
Are you not aware of that case, Chris, of Derek Bird, the taxi driver? He went on a shooting spree just through his village.
No, when was that?
Oof.
It was up at Whitehaven in Cumbria.
That's it.
Oh yes, yeah, I sort of remember it. Yeah, yes, I sort of remember that. When that around the time of Malmo.
It was around that sort of time. Yes, correct.
Yeah, because there were strange things like that happening, and there's all these anomalies because everybody can exchange information so quickly now that these anomalies are starting to add up to questions. And the questions are very basic questions that, you can go across random subjects and you can find there's so much of the very basic questions people just refuse to answer flatly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing, yet people still think. One of my mates is going to vote for Jeremy Corbyn because Jeremy Corbyn's going to save everybody. It's honestly, it's bonkers, mate. The world has gone absolutely bonkers.
Well, yeah, I mean, anybody who thinks the politician is going to save them is kidding themselves. That's like you got to even get to see them. And I don't believe that we have 650 MPs. I don't believe that for a minute. I mean, for starters, the House of Commons only holds 420 people, so you can never get a full house.
Well, it's the banks and corporations have got the MPs, not us.
Well, I say I don't even believe that. I believe that, that we only have around about 250 MPs. The other ones double up. Take the Eagle twins. You know, twins are always a good one.
The thing is, it's possible that we do have them, but like the woman last week, I think she's either been asked to step down or something. She gets an 80 grand a year. No, I think 100 odd grand a year wage, and she's attended twice in a year in the House of Lords.
And if you got these cabinet members who are also MPs, so if these cabinet members can be doing all these other jobs that the normal MP don't do, what does a normal MP do? Or how can these cabinet MPs be doing their cabinet duties and their MP duty as well? You understand what I mean? If an MP doesn't do any, what does an MP do? They don't do paperwork. They don't do nothing. They're just spokespeople. All they are is spokespeople. They don't, and they're basically getting £80,000 a year or whatever it is for doing nothing.
So, well, they do something. They get 80 grand a year to tell lies, and they're able to do it legally.
They're actors. They are actors. I mean, we got that woman who took over from Joe Cox, who comes fresh out of Coronation Street. What experience has she got to be an MP?
Oh, God knows, mate. But when you're looking at the likes of the Labour Party and Eddie Izzard, you know, I've listened to what he was talking about for his policies, mate. And if anybody could be further off the pulse of what's going on in this world, I don't know. I don't know many of them.
Well, they are only bad. We don't need them. We don't need them, Mark. They don't do anything. I say, you know.
This is the point.
That's what they are. They're actors. An actor is trying to talk and look sincere and convincing, and that's all they do. There's no physical work involved. You know, if there was, they wouldn't be able to do all these other jobs. And I say, you know, if an MP was a full-time job, how can they then become a cabinet MP and do all the cabinet duties as well as their MP duties and edit newspapers and whatever else they do? You know, sit on board of this company, sit on board of that company. How could they do that? You know, if there was any work involved in being an MP? What does an MP do? They don't represent you. I say, you said yourself, for 4 years you tried to see Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham is as corrupt as they come. He's the mayor of Manchester now.
He's the mayor of Manchester, yeah, because you know that they're corrupt when they climb the ladder. And also Tony Blair handpicked him. He's one of Blair's boys.
Anyone associated with Tony Blair can't be legit anyway, can they?
Tell me about it. But you can see, Chris, that they're screwing the people from every angle so hard now. Well, that's what the thing is. People who I know who would never have talked about this even 5 years ago are coming talking to me about it, because this is now starting to permeate onto everybody's lives. Now, I always go to the analogy of Romania when Ceausescu was deposed as dictator. Nobody saw that coming. It was just when the people had had enough, he was swinging from a lamppost next to his wife. And you can feel it bubbling up. But what they're doing is they're trying to co-opt everything to get into it and then control what is going to come out, i.e. all the movements. You can see all. I was talking to people at a common law court training day over the weekend. I was speaking to people from the Dragons movement, and they were saying about how all the infighting started to break it all up. That people started it with good intentions, and then all of a sudden it's breaking up. And this is what is happening. This is why us guys, we don't get involved with groups. We do our own work with our own people, but we come and share information, which I believe, silly enough, that's what it's all about. But you've got people who've got some really good information, Chris, now. And people are getting to the point where they need help. And then they're saying, yeah, here's the information for you. It's going to cost you so much. That is what, again, that is not going to go any further with this world.
These are a select few, now, Mark, aren't they? I find the majority of people don't want to know. You know, and if it involves reading something that's more than 10 words long.
Oh, I agree. I agree. They're stuck with, well, what do we do? But the people who are actually talking about it.
I mean, young people are a lot more in tune to what's going on, if you like. You know, because the Illuminati is kind of trendy, and you know, it sort of gives them a bit of kudos or whatever if they talk about it. But the information they're getting is wrong information, you know, and this gets spread around, and before you know it, you have misinformation everywhere. So their heart's in the right place, and it's nice to see young people sort of being aware that things aren't right, but they're not doing their own research. They're just spreading recycled news, if you like, you know, which doesn't help the cause, if you like, because a lot of it is wrong.
But there's a progression that people have, and while you might see something that somebody posts and think to yourself, well, actually, you know, I knew about that a long time ago, but at least it's something that it's somebody that's opened up to something new, and if it's from a long time ago, they're looking back and, you know, further back in time than the current moment, which is what most kids these days, I think people call them millennials, but everything's instant, everything's instantaneous. But yet when you've got people who probably fall into that category and they're posting things up, and you think to yourself, well, that's not going to mean anything to me, but I'm really encouraged that for example, my dad, I always have this bit of an argument with my dad about space. And I ask him all these questions, and I say, because he thinks space is like really good and whatever, but I think whenever we've spoken about it, things have certainly have sunk in and have gone into his mind, because he's then tagging me in things on Facebook about, you know, a meme where spaceship falls over and this is really what went on Moon, it's an outtake, and you know, silly daft stuff like that. So you know, I understand what you mean, that but people have to go at their own pace, don't they? People have to go at their own pace, and then they get to a certain point, and you can tell, you go past, you get people go Alex Jones, then they go on to David Icke, and then they go on to, you know, somebody else, or and you know, there's all these steps that people take.
Yeah, I said the problem is people want their information given to them verbally. They don't want to read about it themselves. You know, they don't want to watch a documentary on it or whatever. You know, because factual documentaries are all independently produced. You know, they haven't got the special effects and whatnot. A lot of the time, it's just someone waffling on. You know, and attention spans aren't what they used to be. You know?
Well, no,
talking of space, my last article was on the moon, actually. Well, not on the moon, about the moon.
We'll probably have a few people listening that you were on the moon.
Man's never set foot on the moon, that's for sure.
Oh, you're a nutter, you, Chris.
I know I am. And the problem is, with my website, is someone who isn't clued up, if they come onto my website, you know, they're not going to read about 9/11 so much anymore, or things like that. It's progressed beyond that, if you know what I mean, because I've been doing this 6 years now, and the 6 years has been a learning curve for me as well, and things that I wrote about in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, you know, I now no longer believe. It's what I believed at at the time and what the evidence pointed to at the time. But since then, I've advanced, if you like, to this point where your normal person coming onto my website now would think, what a nutter, because they don't see the previous 6 years that's got me to this point where I am now. You understand what I mean? Say yes, Chris. Say no, Chris. Say anything.
Yeah, we're saying something. Sorry, I've just got my wife talking in my ear behind me, and I got my microphone muted. I've just been sort of.
I was going to start sign languaging.
Go on, Webby.
One of you, anyone, I don't care which.
I was just going to say, when you said the stuff you wrote about in those years, you don't believe anymore.
No, for instance, where we came in, World War III.
Right. I see what you're saying now.
You know, because like I'm reading the same things. What in 2012 about the American president, which I think he was at the time, threatening North Korea if they launch their next missile, then there's going to be consequences and that. And 6 years later, we have President warning, we have Trump warning North Korea that if they launch their missile tests or whatever, there's going to be consequences, and there never is, and all these bigger mods and big build-ups on the Black Sea and whatnot, biggest maneuver exercise ever by NATO and whatnot, and it's not going to happen. And when you think about it, these people who rule the world, the monsters, they're not going to live in a nuclear wasteland. They're not going to live like moles underground for the next. Even if it's nice down there, and I do believe that there probably are underground facilities like cities and whatnot, but it's still living in artificial light, which is no good for anybody. And they're nutters, but they're not nutty enough. And they also have the self-preservation factor, which is probably greater than most people's. And so there's not going to be a World War III, not a nuclear World War III anyway, put it that way.
Do you know what? I'll tell you one thing my mum always said, there'll never be a World War III with nuclear weapons.
No.
And she used to always say, because there'll be nothing left to even rule over, so there will never be. She said that, I remember that.
They care more about themselves than anybody else, and
that reptilian brain. It's that reptilian brain that we've all got. It's fight or flight.
Live underground for how many? I don't think it's even possible to live underground for.
Hey, hang on. What about Hollow Earth? What's your opinion on that?
Hollow Earth. Well, it's your hollow. No one knows, do they? You see, you can't be, because you can't dig down that far.
Well,
it's all. It's meant to be this big inferno. The people story,
Well,
how can they tell? They can't get down that deep.
Yeah, that's only a theory, isn't it, Chris?
No, it is, and anything that is a theory isn't proved.
No way.
And as far as Hollow Earth goes, it may not be completely hollow, but we know pretty much definitely from information that's been revealed and dug up by certain researchers that there are great underground areas the size of cities, the city populations in them. We've got Area 51.
Andy, I believe there are cities underneath, probably with vast luxury palaces for the rich if it all went tits up, but they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. I say because they love themselves, they value their fresh air and their space and whatnot far too much to be stuck underneath ground for the rest of their lives. Really, they're not going to do it. They do want the population reduced. And I believe that they're doing this, and I don't believe that there are 7.5 billion people in the world. I say that's just a scare figure. I believe that people are dying out a lot quicker. People don't seem to be having as many babies. They're having babies later. People are dying younger because of cancer and whatnot. And, you know, I believe the numbers are dwindling rather than growing. But I say, even if they were, the Earth can sustain far, far more people than 7.5 billion. You only have to look at the greenery and the vast open spaces. You know, and this is what people say about all these Muslims, and then they come over here and take our job. That's not true. That's not true at all.
No, but what they're doing, Chris, they're building.
They need food as well, so they're going to start. You know, you just produce more.
All those empty spaces that you're talking about, they're building frigging houses on them that people can't afford to buy. So there's empty houses everywhere. And they're building more bleeding houses.
That's Mark, isn't it? That's the mortgage scam, you know? I mean, how can that was built, you know, say in the 1920s or whatever, and cost like a couple of £100 to build, how can it be worth like, you know, £500,000 now?
Because money doesn't exist, that's why.
Of course it doesn't. But that is the mortgage scam. I say that, yeah, they are building houses that people can't afford. But that's going to stop. But the only way that's going to stop is by changing the regime at the top. And I don't see that happening.
Jeremy Corbyn, that's what you mean, isn't it?
Him, the saviour of mankind. I like his beard as well.
Oh my God, that's what I mean.
Have you noticed, Chris?
Yeah.
How much Jeremy Corbyn looks like Brian in The Life of Brian?
I watched The Life of Brian just a little while back, funny enough. It's hard to say. Probably. He looks a lot like Dr. David Kelly.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well for him either, did it? Just back to the nuclear war thing, we've had a very interesting question from the chat room from Sane Man, I think it was, and he's saying, have you looked at the stuff that's going around that says that nuclear weapons do not work, it's a complete hoax? And there's a guy who used to work in the nuclear industry, I believe his name's Galen Windsor, who talks about that.
It could well be true. I've seen this, yeah. And when you think about it, Nagasaki and Hiroshima both bombed, yet they started building straight away, and they're two of the biggest cities in Japan. You know, highly populated. Why haven't all them people sort of come down with radiation sickness and whatnot? You know, them people that did survive the bombings of Hiroshima, why didn't they get cancer and whatnot? You know, when they were close enough to be like, you know, their faces melted and whatnot. You know. And
even more so, Chris, about the babies not being born with deformities. Yet you look at the likes of Iraq.
Exactly. There is evidence of babies being born with deformities in Iraq, and that was from the shelling.
Yeah, the uranium weapons
have also come down with cancer and whatnot. I believe them figures are being covered up from just handling the depleted uranium, isn't it? That goes into to make these missiles and whatnot. And of course, they're not nuclear weapons as such, are they? They're conventional weapons, if you like. Incidentally, the Queen supposedly makes a fortune from depleted uranium. There you go. God bless her.
I mean, I think allegedly Hillary Clinton might have made a few quid off it, but I'm not totally sure.
You're just jealous, Mark. Just jealous, mate. Listen, we're at an hour point, so we're going to stop and take a record so that we can have a little bit of a break. It's not a very long break, so it's only going to be 3 minutes and 39 seconds. So just quick break, play a bit of music, and everybody can do what they want. They can replenish their glasses, or they can replenish their bladder. Whatever takes your fancy.
Make sure it's none of Dinny's music.
It's not. It's not. Believe me. All right. See you.
Right, so do you have to stay silent during this this break?
If you could.
Don't ask me to mute anything because I'll touch that and I'll go off air and that'll be it. We'll never get me back again.
All right. I think
I'm having far too much fun.
It's all right, Chris. We can mute it from our end, so we'll mute it and bring you back in when the music's finished, mate.
Okay.
Hello, this is Heath Dweft, and I listen to Raconteurs. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. Arms are folded, don't kill malnutrition dulls my hair. My eyes are black and lifeless with an unprivileged stare. I'm the beggar on the corner, will no one spare a dime. I'm the child that never learned to read, cause no one spared the time. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. The victim, I'm licensed to a gun. I'm a sad, bruised old lady in an alley or in a slum. I'm a middle-aged businessman with chronic heart disease. I'm another teenage suicide in a street that has no trees. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. Starving third world mother, refugee without a home. I'm a housewife hooked on Valium, a pensioner alone. I'm a cancer-ridden specter, discovering the earth. I'm another hungry baby, I'm an accident at birth. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care.
This is Dr. Judy Wood, and you're listening to Raconteurs News.
And welcome back to Raconteurs News on this Tuesday evening. It's the 30th of October 2018, and you're watching us on the miracle that is Google Hangouts, and you're able to see us in all our glory, all our beauty. So you're very welcome, by the way. I just thought I'd just pop that in there. Also, I just wanted to say, if you could, if you just pop us a like on there or something, you know, on the video, just pop us a like. It just gives us a warm feeling inside, and it releases them endorphins in our brain because we're addicted to being liked and things like that. So that'd be a big thank you. We got with us tonight. We've got Andy's with us and Paul, as usual. It's not Mark. I don't know who Mark is, but Chris keeps mentioning Mark. So Mark anyway. So we'll assume that there's one there somewhere, although he's probably made up. What do you reckon, Chris?
Actually, I knew it was Paul. I keep calling him Mark, so I got it Mark in my head. I do that a lot. I'm terrible with names. Sorry, Paul.
No problem. Listen, but our Paul's all right. He don't mind what you call him, as long as you know you don't call him a Man United fan or all like that. It'd be a little bit it'd be a bit disgusted about that.
I do that a lot. Mark. It's not Mark. It's Paul. And my brother's called Paul, but I just got it in my head that it's Mark. So I'll probably keep calling you Mark and think I got it right. Paul. Don't worry about it.
No worries. I won't worry about it.
No. Listen, Jeff, it happens all the time.
Yeah, don't worry, no worries at all, Dave.
So anyway, we're into the second hour.
Jason, if you can give us a thumbs up, if you like what we're doing, it's always a good idea to subscribe to the channel. And at the side of the subscribe button, there's a little bell there. If you click that bell, you'll get a notification in your YouTube notifications that we're online. And so if we do any shows on the fly, you'll not miss them. And it'll be a reminder for those of you. I know some people are busy and often tend to forget when we're on air. So it will help you with that. So it's always worthwhile doing. And it kind of helps our profile on YouTube. I think it helps one or two more people find us. So that would be much appreciated.
It helps alert people to when we've got technical issues also.
We've always got technical issues, Paul. It's three blokes in a spare room doing their best they can. We're not a professional outfit. And anybody who expects us to do that, I think tough shit is the phrase that springs to mind.
Well, yeah, we don't force anybody to listen, do we? We don't force anybody to listen. People choose to come here, and I do believe we're a bit of a side thing. We're the side show to the chat room. I think there's a bit of a social group that's forming in the chat room. And I think we're a bit of a sideshow. So when us talking, it's just droning on in the background while people are having a chat in the chat room. So a big hello to everybody in the chat room. If you're listening to me and not just type in any sort of things that you're having a mess about with your mates, can you pay attention, please? This is class.
Before we carry on with Chris and his information that goes out, I'd just like to mention something regarding the last time we had Lee Garrett on. Now,
was that the Lee Garrett show?
Yes, Lee had quite a lot to say about Anti-Logical Anne-Marie Carey, whatever name she's going by. And we had quite a few messages on that score saying we need to get Anne-Marie Carey on. Now, we did make the offer of a right to reply to Anne-Marie Carey, and that offer stands. It won't stand indefinitely, but if she wants to come on the show in the next few weeks and put her side of the story, she's more than welcome to. But as far as chasing round after people, we need to get in touch with Anne-Marie Carey. We get in touch with the people that we want on the show. If you want somebody else on the show, or somebody else wants to come on who we've never thought of, then they need to contact us, because we're just too busy doing what we're doing to be chasing around after all and sundry that something maybe ought to be on the show. So the right to reply still stands, but Anne-Marie's going to need to make the contact and set that up, because it's something none of us have the time or the inclination to be doing. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't want to get involved in. We don't mind getting involved as long as we're seen as arbitrators rather than protagonists on one side or the other. So yeah, like you say, the invitation is still open. Anybody wants to, anything we say on Raconteurs News, if there's anybody wants to come on and rebuff us or put an opposite point of view, we always like that sort of thing. And as you can tell, because our guest tonight, Chris, right, let's bury this once and for all. I know this is the third time that you've been on, and we've probably done this every single time that you've been on. But is it because I watched when obviously I knew you were coming on tonight, so I watched a couple of your interviews, which I couldn't find. There's not been anything for quite a while. I found one with UK Colin where they called you Spivey and Chris Spivey, and I found one with Mark Devlin who called you Chris Spivey. So which one is it?
Mark. It is Spivey.
Spivey.
Yeah. So my dad told me.
Oh, you've got to go off that. You go off that one, yeah.
You might like the connotations with Spivey, so it could be Spivey, but most people call me Spivey, but it is actually Spivey.
Oh, which do you like to be preferred as? Is it Mark? Is it Mark?
I really don't care. I tell you who would make a good guest though, John Hamer.
Yeah, we've had John on a couple of times.
Have you? I would have known that because I would have watched.
Sorry?
I wish I'd have known that because I would have watched.
Oh, right, yeah, we've had John's been on a couple of times.
John's a very good internet friend of mine.
Do you know what? I meant to ask you about him because we've not heard from him for quite a while. Obviously, life gets in your way and things are doing. How is he doing anyway, John?
He's been very ill, he tells me. He had Ebola or something, and he's still recovering. He hasn't been well at all, but he just sent me because I'm in the process of getting rid of a lot of stuff on my website, and it all has to be read through first to see what I want to keep and what I don't want to keep. So he sent me some articles to use. One of them is on the moon. Which I posted yesterday, which is very interesting, proving that man never set foot there.
Well, yeah, we've had John on a couple of times on various different subjects here.
Very interesting man, very interesting, genuine man.
The falsification of history, and he wrote that. We had him on about that. We also had him on about the book that he wrote on the Titanic as well. So if anybody,
didn't he? He wrote one fiction and one factual, on that, and he's got his newish books out about banking system. That was a two-parter, Behind the Curtain.
Yeah. Really very interesting stuff, and I would anybody who's listening who's not heard the John Hamer interviews, that's JOHNHAMER, that's John Hamer. He sells his books on Amazon, and on his website as well. I think it's John Hamer Author. But yeah, he's a very interesting guy. We've had him on before, so if you look back in the archives, you'll be able to find the shows that we've done with him on various from finance to Titanic to the falsification of history. In fact, that was the first interview that I ever did was John Hamer, and I did it at home, and I had no idea what the chuffing hell I was doing, and it didn't come out very well, so I never used it. So that's there somewhere at some point. But John, good guy.
Falsification of History is an excellent book for anyone who is just beginning to realise what's going on in the world, because it's not overcomplicated. I say, if you're new to all this and you come to my website, you're just going to think, oh, that's fine, here's a proper matter. Because, like I say, I've been doing it 6 years now, day in, day out, and what I know now to be true doesn't just follow. You don't just get there, and a lot of people would understand what I write, or even be able to get their head back what I write. But John Hamer's The Falsification of History is an excellent starting point for anybody who wants to know more of what's going on.
Yeah, as long as you've got a good attention span, because it's not exactly a very short.
And I say it doesn't drag on, and it's not all the same subject. You know, it's compartmentalised into specific things, like, you know, the section on the Titanic and a section on money and a section on governments and whatnot. You know, and it's a newsy read. You know. Some people try to be overly clever and baffle you with bullshit and that, and there's none of that in the book. And I say I would recommend that book to anybody who was just starting out. That's another thing.
I think what Jason referred to. Sorry, Chris. I think what Jason referred to earlier about people learning at their own pace and in different ways. Jason said John's stuff is quite intense, and you know it expands quite a lot. The thing is, they can look at the subjects and can go away and break it up into little chunks themselves. I mean, I've found people, including myself, where Agenda 21 can be explained in 10 minutes without reading the entire Agenda 21. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that you can now help people with, because I talk to people about. Hang on a minute. 3/4 hour and a quarter. I talk to people about bills of exchange. They don't understand it, but they do now. They're starting to get bits of it because they understand bits of it. They work in it all the time, but they didn't understand how it worked, and now they're getting a bit of it. Yes, Jason.
An hour and 15 minutes. So what's that? 75 minutes, everybody. Anybody have 75 minutes? We'll give you a couple of minutes to sort yourselves out.
Have you anything to add, mate?
Well, I mean, we were talking about John and John's book, and like you said, the entry level and the where people are, and my point was, when you were saying people can read the book and then dissect it themselves, my point was, it's hard enough to get somebody to read a book.
It is.
Never mind for them to then afterwards analyze it and break it down. So, you know, whilst I like John's book, Falsification of History, but I could see how somebody who's perhaps at an entry level perhaps would get a little bit daunted by the sheer size of the book. And I know there's many chapters that cover different things from historical events. So I know that it's different and it's compelling. But, you know, getting somebody to even start a book that size when you can't really get anybody to read a magazine these days, can you?
This is what I was saying earlier, Andy, wasn't it? That, you know, people want to be told, but they'll listen, and often they're not getting the correct information anyway. It is a big book, yeah, but like I said, John's got a very natural way of writing. You know, he doesn't overcomplicate things. I don't think he overcomplicates things anyway. And you can read a book at your leisure, can't you? You don't, you know, no one say you've got to read it in 5 days or whatever. You know, you read a bit, put it down, read a bit when you go to the toilet or whatever. And once they get into it, I think it's an enjoyable book. And it makes you want to read more. Some things you read, after the first 2 paragraphs, you're bored senseless, you know. And I don't think the Falsification of History is like that at all. Of course, if you want a really, really good read, then you want to read my books.
Yeah, I think we probably should get onto them, shall we? Give us an overview of your books, what they are, what they're about, and I know you've got one. I saw you posting the other day that you've got one in the Amazon top 50 bestsellers, somewhere at number 40 odd or whatever.
Stephen King was at 42, which quite pleased me. He's 5 pages above me. below me. Yeah, my books. Well, they're not actually about. This is the first book I've just released, which is the second book of three that are going to be released, and it's a work of fiction. The first one is Never Mind the Sex Pistols, Here's the Bollocks. It's obviously a play for those under 20 on the Sex Pistols album. Never Mind Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols, and it's a fictitious story based around fact, but you don't have to like the Sex Pistols to like it. It's about a mafia plot to kill a world famous singer. And my second book was on Meghan Markle. That is a factual book, and this one I've just released. It's the second part, the follow-up to Never Mind the Sex Pistols. It's called The Great Cock and Bull Swindle. Very, very funny, if I do say so myself. Very politically incorrect and quite obscene, really. Full of toilet humour. So if you like toilet humour, you particularly like it. Anyone over 40 will get all the jokes, and there's this full set is 1970s and 1976. And you know, for those who remember things like the $6 Million Man and the pop stars of the day, they will love it. And at $14.99, you can't go wrong. Make a brilliant Christmas present. Your grandma will love it anyway.
So what's your general? I should have read your books. I've got to say I'm not a very good reader. I've had one of Neil Sanders's books for quite a while and not really got past first page yet. But there's no agenda at all. The Meghan Markle book. Just can you give some sort of brief outline of that? I don't want you.
No, we started this at a long time though, Andy. You see, because
I'm Jason, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but I call you Andy.
Okay.
Jason, I should know that. My son's called Jason too, and my brother's called Paul. Anyway, Andy. Yeah, it's about obviously Meghan Markle, who Meghan Markle isn't who you think she is.
Okay.
I don't believe there's any such person as Meghan Markle, if you like. And I say we started this really at a long time because it's so complicated. There isn't really time to explain it all. But if you read the book, you will understand it. But Meghan Markle, the Markle family, is a manufactured family. They're not real. And they're all played by actors and actresses and whatnot.
Well, in that what she is anyway, an actress.
Well, of course she is. Of course she is.
Listen, I know absolutely nothing about this. Nothing at all about this woman. I've got no interest.
Who knows? I mean, we're supposed to believe that she's a 37-year-old woman who loves children, who's been married once before, yet she has no children. Then as soon as she gets with Super Harry, another actor, she's pregnant with, you know, a month after being married. Yet she's gone 37 years without any children, despite being married before. Now, she's famous, I suppose, sort of famous, because it's been drummed into us by the press that she starred in this series called Suits, which has been going, I don't know, 4 years, something like that. And apparently shown herself with a bit part before that. That take her to feel like 33 years old. What was she doing up until 33 years? We know nothing about her, you know. I mean, most big part actors and that, they have other jobs and whatnot. Waitressing, no reference to her doing any waitressing or anything like that. But if you read my book, it explains it all very carefully who all the players are in it. Meghan Markle is just a creative persona. It's like me being presented to the world in press. It's only been really, you know, a famous writer or whatever called Paul Webster, you know. But I'm not really Paul Webster. I'm Chris Spivey. Do you understand what I'm saying? And
well, we've got Paul Webster here.
Yeah, but Paul Webster's a common name. Now, actually, there another Paul Webster as well. You know Mark Webster by any chance?
Actually,
no, I don't know about Webster. I might be getting infamous, and I don't know about famous.
News. But anyway, to get back to it, yeah. So in this book, which is great value at £15, just under, I'll take you through who all the members of the Markle family are, and none of them are who you think they are.
Well, that's and people can buy that off from Amazon as well as your website. I would imagine.
It's only sold on Amazon. The links to it are all on my website, or just type it on Amazon, Meghan Markle exposed, and you won't get bored after the first or second paragraph. That's for sure.
You see, it's an interesting conundrum because, like you say, she's now apparently with Lizard.
As I wrote in the book, I mean, the book's 4 months old, and I wrote then about this anomaly of this beautiful woman who supposedly loves kids but hasn't got any. Like 37 years old, and I wrote that now she's married. I wrote it 4 months ago. She will be pregnant very soon, or pregnant.
So, do we think it's Prince Philip's?
Prince Philip, is he still alive?
I don't know. I ain't got a clue.
I think he's dead, but they just wheel him out.
Sorry? Yeah, they do. And even then, I'm not sure if he's alive when they do that.
They're a really dark group of people, aren't they, the royal family? I mean, what's...
They dwell in dark regions, don't they? They dwell in the dark half, shall we say. They're not... the royal family aren't who you think they are. I mean, if you think these bloodline families and whatnot, Rothschild and the Rockefellers, you look at them, they all look the same, because they don't breed outside their own families. You go to the Windsors and that, you look at Harry and William, and they look nothing alike, nothing whatsoever. You wouldn't put them down as brothers. Now, with these pure bloodlines, how can that be? There should surely be some family resemblance there, but there's nothing. I mean, if you look at me and my 3 brothers, you can see how we're all connected, we look different but the same. But Harry and William, they look nothing like each other. They're totally different, and neither of them look like Prince Charles. So you could make it.
I think you could probably make a case for William looking like Charles, particularly with the bald.
No. You look at King Juan Carlos, and then you look at William, and you'll see a mini-me in William. You look at Prince Charles and William; they don't look like. If anything, William favours Diana, or the actress who played, because I don't believe that Diana was a real person either.
Andy, you need to turn your mic on, mate.
It was muted in 2 places there, and yes, I'm fascinated with that. Prince William looks like Juan Carlos when he was younger. It also seems quite coincidental that it appears, if you look at the dates, William was conceived pretty much around the time they got married. And where did they honeymoon? With Juan Carlos in Spain.
And there was plenty of photos of Juan Carlos and a young William, right through to the older William. And Prince William obviously has a much closer relationship with Juan Carlos than what he does with Charles, and they're relaxed in each other's company. And there's the photos of them sitting on the steps somewhere in Spain, and William, young William, sitting on Juan Carlos' knee, like Charles is sat behind them, like an old thing, And I say, you don't know. I say you look at the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds have a certain look that never changes, hasn't changed for hundreds of years. The Rockefellers, they all look the same. You can spot a Rockefeller a mile off, A Kennedy, you can spot Kennedy a mile off. Yet these Windsors, they look nothing alike,
The strange thing, Chris, is Jason was touching on it when you were talking about these others being actors. the people, the general people, where they get their information from, you know, we were talking about being able to hold two thoughts without a belief. It is more than feasible to present something like that to the population, but people start talking about, oh, you've got to there's got to be too many people involved, and then you've got to try and explain compartmentalization to them.
And this is what I'm saying, Paul. You know, to explain, it's taken me 6 years to get here. And if someone had said to me 6 years ago that Princess Diana never existed, she was just an actress playing a role, I would never have believed it. You know, don't be so stupid. I can tell you, Princess Diana was mostly played by India Jane Burley, the daughter of Annabel Burley, or Annabel Goldsmith, who was married to James Goldsmith, which would make India Burley or Princess Diana. That would make her Jemima Goldsmith, or Jemima Khan, if you like, half sister. But that's who primarily played Princess Diana.
So would you be saying then that the crash that was a staged event as well?
That was without doubt, and I can prove this beyond belief, and I do prove it beyond all doubt in a very long article of mine called "The Night of the Living Dead."
Well, would they get that from your site?
You can see the death car, if you like, has been photoshopped. What it's actually pulled alongside the wall in the tunnel, but they've taken the back and they've twisted the background to make it appear that it's sort of been in the crash, but it hasn't. It wasn't. Now the Diana, the later Diana, the 36-year-old Diana who was died, was played by an 18-year-old at the time called Ondine Rothschild, who lived in Paris. And this is why you see her when she's walking out of the hotel, she has having a face like that. People were saying that because you know, the press invasion and whatnot. Well, total bollocks. This was the most photographed woman in the world. You know, and she was far from shy. Yet she's walking out of the hotel like that. The reason she's walking out like that is because she's been played by an 18-year-old on the night she's going to live in Paris. Ondine, the Rothschild. If you Google her and have a look at her, and she's obviously one of the part of the Rothschild family. But predominantly, Diana was played by India Jane Burley. Now,
sorry, there's a question just been texted to me about if that's the case, where would the Al-Fayeds fit in?
Mohammed Al-Fayed was also Adnan Khashoggi.
What? Sorry.
He also Mohammed Al-Fayed is also a made up character. And again, once again, if you go to my website and you want to read The Night of the Living Dead and see all the comparisons, Adnan Khashoggi was once the he died last year. Was once the might be this year actually, might be in May this year. Once the richest man, described as the richest man in the world. He was an arms dealer, and he was supposedly brother-in-law to Mohammed Al-Fayed, but they are the same. They're the same fella.
Right.
And you know, there's all. I say, but for me to say that now, of course, that makes me sound like of course it does, but
I don't think there's any of us not been called a nutter for what we've talked about.
I don't care what people call me, because I say if you read these articles, I mean, read them properly, not scan them, and not just glance at the photo evidence that I put forward. Look at it and read what I write, not what you think I write. Because a lot of people think, you know, they throw things back at me. Oh, you said this and this, and I never said no such thing. You know. Of course, you ask, like, why would they do that? Well, Charles is Logan pushed it for a start. There's little doubt about that. Too much photo evidence which you won't see in things like the Daily Mail and that. But there's photos there of Prince Charles kissing men and whatnot. Diana was a multi-million-pound industry, and it's all about the money. Paul, do you understand? This is what it's about: money and power and control. Okay, and these elites, that's all they care about. Their own lives. They don't care about us as long as we're there to serve them and to earn them more money. And Diana was a great story. So, but they start conspiracy theories to keep you away from the truth, to find out that Diana never existed. Now, you think nobody ever heard of Diana Spencer until 1980, when all of a sudden she gets engaged to Prince Charles. And then it took a further 15 years before her childhood started to come out, photos of her childhood. But these photos of her childhood, they're not photos of Diana or young Diana. They're photos of James Goldsmith's youngest daughter. I can't remember her name for the life of me because I'm terrible on names, as you know.
That's Jemima, isn't it?
No. Jemima is James Rothschild's eldest daughter.
Oh, sorry.
With Annabelle Beerley, which makes India Beerley Jemima's half sister. And India Beerley being the one who played the young lady Diana, the one that we saw who got engaged to Charles. We're talking about the youngest of James Goldsmith's children, who isn't Annabelle Beerley's daughter, because James Goldsmith had 3 on the go at one time, which Annabelle Beerley or Annabelle Goldsmith knew about. She's the youngest daughter, but you find it very, very hard to find out that she's actually James Goldsmith's daughter, because that information is now being removed from her Wikipedia page and whatnot. I still have the information still. It's all there in the article Night of the Living Dead, which I believe is one of the greatest things I ever wrote. And when I started writing it, I started writing it originally to prove that Diana hadn't been killed in the car crash, still believing that Princess Diana was a person in her own right. I believe the whole Spencer line actually is a made up, a created line. It's not a real line. And of course, Winston Churchill also falls into the Spencer, the Spencer bloodline. But I originally started writing the article. I set out to prove that Diana hadn't been killed at all. She just got into hiding or whatever they do these days. But as I wrote about it, the more research I did, the more I came to the conclusion that Diana never existed at all. She was just a created someone to carry on this Windsor myth, if you like, which the Windsor line, the Windsor family, are multi-million pound earners, you know, and they're not going to just stop these millions come in. So that they create, if you like, this false family, because that's what the Windsor family is, a false family, and they're definitely not what people perceive them to be. Definitely not. So if you read Night of the Living Dead on my website, so read it properly. Don't just going in, just to be like total bollocks and whatnot. Read the words that are in front of you, take a read, and look at the photo evidence that I provide in that article, and really look at it. Look at what I'm saying to you. You will come away with a totally different conclusion, and you will certainly come away knowing that no one died on August 31st, 1997.
Yeah, I mean, we've had quite a few comments and questions in the chat room. I don't know if you've been keeping up with those, Andy.
No, because I'm not allowed. You told me that I wasn't allowed because I kept hearing voices.
No, I'm actually talking about...
Not you, Andy. Not you, Andy. The other Andy we're talking about.
Not Andy, not Mark.
The other one. No, sorry, I've been busy trying to sort something else out, so I haven't been keeping up on the chat room. I did for a while. It was just a bit of banter back and forth, and I couldn't see any questions. But
Andy, what are we paying you for? Are you telling us just to save our ass at the start of the show? That's what we pay you for?
bang on.
Bang on.
Well, listen, a question I wanted to ask you, Chris, is I know there are certain things that we can't talk about, and there's certain injunctions that are in place. Well, I don't know, but that's what I assert from what Mark's told me. I did notice today that you were talking about certain things that I think these injunctions are probably covering. There were certain interviews that you'd done that were still on air. Now, is that
they're still on air? They're not through me. They're nothing to do with me. I can't control what other people put up.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, I just wondered. It just seemed to me.
I can't control what other people put up. There's nothing about what the injunction covers on my side.
Sweet.
I don't want to go to prison.
No, of course not. Nobody wants to go to prison.
Exactly.
Oh,
And they would love me to talk about it. And I would love to talk about it. Don't get me wrong.
yeah, but we know we can't. We don't want to be responsible for sending you to prison. I just found it interesting that things that you'd said previous to obviously these injunctions being in place were still up and still. Like
I say, I complied with the court ruling that I took everything down.
Of course.
All references. I can't. It was out in the public domain, and it was read by a lot of people. In fact, some might say it made me so well known today. And I say it was in a lot of different places. I've done a lot of interviews about it. I can't tell them people to take it down, you know. So whatever information there is on the internet about it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. I just found that just to be an interesting point. Obviously, then it was against you because it's a little bit like somebody. We've just had this. I think last week.
It's like Matthew Taylor. So Matthew Taylor can't talk about Katie Bourne because he's had to remove all the stuff he wrote about Katie Bourne off his websites and whatnot. But I can talk about Matthew Taylor and Katie Bourne. You know, exact same thing.
Yeah, they're going to end up after taking an injunction against the whole population. Exactly. I wonder, is there some legislation that is in the pipeline for that?
It wouldn't surprise me, I said, because free speech is definitely illegal if this free speech doesn't go by what they exactly.
Well, this has been my whole issue about people and ahhing about the remaining or leaving Europe. If we stay in Europe, that kind of legislation, that's all you've got. You have no recourse because a man's decided you can't do something. Now, this is dangerous. It's dangerous stuff what we're playing with here.
I mean, it's harassment and whatnot is the new serious crime, isn't it? You know, they're not interested in people being burgled no more, but call someone a liar on the internet or
that's what I mean. You start talking
for their previous indiscretions on the internet, and you're harassing them.
Well, I mean, we had a guy on last night, Pete, and he's the situation he's ended up in is just phenomenal. The harassment accusations against him with no evidence or anything, and he ends up tagged. You know, this is madness. It's madness what the world's going to.
I think for what I wrote on my own website, you know, if I talk about it, talk about the people involved, I can go to prison for 5 years just for talking about someone.
But that's what I'm saying. The jurisdiction.
Of course I haven't. Of course I haven't. And if you'd have been present at the appeal in the High Court, that was a travesty of justice. The judge should never be sitting on there because, well, I can't even tell you why the judge should have been sitting on there. He shouldn't have been sitting there because it prejudiced the case right from the start. It's meant to be a judge and two magistrates. There was only one magistrate. Apparently, one of the magistrates pulled out the day before the trial started, or the appeal started, and the judge said, you know, is everyone happy to carry on with just himself and this other magistrate who had a face like slap glass? And I said no, and I was the only one who was affected by it. I said no, I wasn't happy to carry on, and I wanted it. You know, I said I was happy to wait for the appeal to go ahead when there was two magistrates and the judge available, and he overruled it. Just overruled it like that, and I was the only person affected.
This is going to be a rhetorical question, Chris, but was there a jury?
No, of course there was.
So, right, so how come...
I wanted a jury.
That's what I'm saying. The jurisdiction that they've done you under is commercial. It's corporate. It's completely fictitious what they've done you under. And yet, the thing is, they have the forces and the people to follow those orders to do exactly what they're saying.
And that is what they did. They did exactly what they wanted. There was one reporter there. I was splashed across the front pages and the centre pages of every national newspaper in the country.
I've seen it, mate.
I had politicians slagging me off and calling me an awful man, and I wasn't allowed to do it. But I had one reporter there, and she was only in there half of the time. Yeah, what she wrote went to every national newspaper, and then they just put their own spin on it. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, it's just a token gesture.
What they wrote was an absolute pack of lies. An absolute pack of lies, because it was laughable. It wasn't anywhere near justice, and they got away with it. And
well,
I couldn't even write on my website.
Let's look at it this way, Chris. If you touched, if like allegedly you touched on something that could be so huge,
it was
so huge that if the lid came off that, they are going to make an example so nobody else would go as close. That's what they do.
Exactly. I say it was a travesty. It was a kangaroo court. Yeah, and it was shameful. It was shameful. And that's all I can say on the matter. But I'm still smiling, Mark, and Mark Paul.
So I just tried to talk then, and then we might
froze this end. Actually, it froze this end because we've lost Andy because his computer's rebooted.
That's fascinating, yeah.
Yeah, listen, what I wanted to do, we've got about 13 minutes. Well, we've got probably about 10 minutes left before we have to say au revoir. I wanted to do, I wanted to ask you what you're up to now, how you living. I know you've been doing, you said, I've seen a couple of posts where you've been keeping your hand in and doing the tattooing and stuff like that. And how's your daughter, I think from top of my head, the name's Stacey. Yeah. And your grandson Benson.
Benson? No, Benson's my dog.
Oh, sorry, Clayton.
It was bed with names, Dave.
I'm terrible with names. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, Clayton, young Clayton.
Yeah. They moved out. They got moved out. In court cases for their own safety. They was priority because it was thought that it was dangerous for me to live here, for them to live here, because we didn't know whether someone would come and put some petrol bombs through the front windows of the bedroom was at the front window, you know, and it got very, very hairy around here because because of the shit that they published about me, which was libelous in the national newspapers. So they done her a favour really, because she got a house, whereas most single mothers would only get a flat, but she got a house with a garden. So it's just around the corner from me. I see her every day.
Excellent.
Every day, but yeah, so it's just me on my own here, freezing to death because I can't afford heating.
What about young Clayton?
Free, Chris. Chris, your heating's free, mate. Have you not watched any of my stuff?
No, I'm on a meter.
On a pay-as-you-go?
Sorry?
On a pay-as-you-go?
Pay me, yeah.
Get rid of it. Ask them to come and take it out and tell them it's free. Go and watch my stuff. Go and watch my video.
I will, because it's certainly not free here. And when I run out, if I don't put gasoline straight away, they charge me for not using their gas.
Listen, don't get me started. You've got less than 10 minutes. Don't get me started.
How's that for a rip-off? They charge you for not using gas.
Mate, they don't. Don't get me. Save me, Jason.
Well, I'd love to, Paul, but you know, I don't even know who you are anymore. Are you Paul, or, you know, who am I saving?
Call me Dave.
Jason, this is how easy it is to invent someone, see? Because Paul has now become Mark.
Yeah, but apparently you know a famous writer called Paul Webster, yet you've not seen any of my stuff.
No, I don't know a famous writer. I know another Paul Webster. He's a carpenter foreman. I have a brother called Paul, but I only know you as Mark.
Who's Mark? Who is Mark?
I don't know where it comes from, but I got it in my head that you were Mark, and now it's stuck in my head. And I'm terrible with names. I think
it just means that it's marked your card, Paul. I think that's exactly what it means. Got your card marked. How's Benson anyway? We'll get five.
He's asleep over there, along with Jessica and Buster.
Watson.
I've got 3 dogs.
I'm just going to show you my dog. See, we might as well show dogs off. Come on.
Is that your grandson, Watson?
Watson, come on.
Watson.
There we go.
Yeah, he's nothing like my Benton or my Buster or my Jessica.
Jason, what word does Watson not like?
You don't like this one, ready?
He's ready?
Penis. 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 Oh, yeah. He's not doing it. He won't do it for camera.
You're weird, you mate. I'll tell you what, you lads in Sheffield.
Joe's definitely taking a dive, that's for sure. Ask me a question.
I don't know. Should we go? Have we finished showing dogs off now?
Yeah, we're done showing dogs off. Sorry about that, everybody. I just can't help it. You know, I'm like one of them proud fathers, only I didn't do it with my own kid, so I'm doing it with my dog.
I don't want to know.
Listen, Webby, you can't, you know, Mark.
There's a libel in there somewhere.
Will you calm down a bit? So, listen, Chris, last few minutes, what's future plans for you?
Well, at the moment, I'm trying to get the website down to and take over its own server because it's costing me £266 a month. Which is unsustainable, really. I mean, how I got this far, I don't know. The future is very uncertain. Put it that way. Because between a website and feeding myself from my 3 hounds, something's got to give.
Yeah, it does at some point, but you're doing okay at the moment. You're managing to tread water.
I'm just surviving.
I think there's a lot of people doing that. We're doing that here, and we've got an income from professionals. So you know, I think everyone's doing that, especially where you live as well, because that's like down south, isn't it? Where it's like really expensive.
Rochford, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I only live in a housing association flat, but yeah, where on the commuter belt there is a lot of money around here, and yeah, it's a nice area to live. I would say they're very low on crime or whatnot, not like in the cities. But to me, I should be a multi-millionaire. The information that I've released, but instead I'm living on the breadline, and you can't go on. You can't go on, especially £266 a month just to run a website before anything else. Before gas and heating and food and whatnot is continual struggle to find.
Do you ever get times where you think perhaps it's not worth it?
Yeah, all the time. As I say, really, you don't make. I mean, I could write knock articles off just like that, like what people want to hear.
Yeah.
But what's the point when I know it's not true? No, I can't just write for the sake of writing. It takes me 6 years to get here, and what I know is the world is very different from what people, even the so-called conspiracy theorists, perceive it to be. Most are on the wrong track. I know I'm on the right track. I don't fully understand it all, and some things can't be explained. You sort of have to start looking at clones, or even the possibility of time travel. Of course, anyone who dismisses it out of hand as being nonsense
isn't thinking,
because you don't know what's possible, what these monsters have and can do. It's certainly not what you think. And I would say I would steer clear of anyone who is doing okay talking about the so-called truth, because I can tell you that in writing about the real truth, there is no money in it. There's just a lot of aggravation from the authorities and a lot of ridicule from people who don't understand, who don't want to understand, or do not want to even entertain the possibility that what I could be saying is correct. And the monster elite, they love the fact that people won't entertain that possibility. When you start looking into it, you see that there is a real possibility that what I'm saying is correct.
Well, what I can't believe is that you've left it until like 5 minutes before we start talking about time travel. I'm sure we'll be able to do an entire
questions, Jason, not me. I was just asking.
Yeah, but I had no idea that you had any interest in that whatsoever. But I'd love to get you back at some point and we could have a chat about that.
Of course, I'm always up to chatting. It's not something that I know a lot about, but there's some things that I like about. I can't explain them myself. I mean, I can see, Hitler and his immediate cabinet, if you like, Goebbels, Heinrich Himmler and Eichmann and all of them. They've all been, they've got to be cloned because they are exact doubles of these people walking around today in public life. Now, yes, everyone's got a double in the world, but that's total nonsense. Because everybody has a double in the world, then half the world will look like the other half. The chances of having a doppelganger are actually 30 billion to 1. And a billion is a big number. Yet, time and time again, I mean, you've only got to look at the Hollywood celebrities and whatnot. They all have exact doppelgangers, So why do these elites have these 30 billion to 1 odds of having doppelgangers or having them? I mean, I know people who sort of look like me. Some people might even say you look a bit like me, but you can't mistake us for being each other. You understand? We might look alike or look a bit alike because we've both got bald heads and whatnot. But no one's come to me. No one's come to me and are you Jason Holmes or whatever, and it comes to this family thing, My brother sort of looked like me, but no one would ever mistake me for being one of my brothers, although we look alike. Yeah, these Hollywood, all of the elite, including the politicians who aren't the elite, they are just for monster millions, all have doppelgangers. 30 billion to 1. They take the odds down, saying, 3 to 1 of having a doppelganger. How is that possible? I tell you, there was some very, very dark thought, and there's some very, very strange happening here. There's no doubt that the world is being modelled on the Third Reich, if you like. I mean, you look at how the Third Reich came into being, the exact same steps are being taken to implement this new world that we live in, and it's being done by people who are identical to people who lived 60, 70 years ago, how is that possible? So you are going to look at clones. Now, cloning was first talked about in the mid-1800s. They was talking about, experiments being done in cloning. So in over 150 years, you can't tell me that now it's not possible to clone a dog. It's been possible for years and years and years and years. And we've got to be looking at clones and the other thing is time travel. Now, people are impossible. Why is it impossible? Why is it impossible? I don't believe it's impossible at all. I don't understand it. I don't know whether it is a fact in that, but I would not dismiss it. I would never dismiss something that I didn't understand out of hand. That just made me ignorant, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Interesting point. Yeah, I mean, there's another show's worth of subjects that you just brought up in the last 5 minutes that we perhaps could talk about, but unfortunately, we have run out of time. It's 9 o'clock. Andy's gone. I think his Windows is updating, which is probably more than his wardrobe has done over the last 20 years. Listen, thanks very much for joining us tonight, Chris. It's been a real pleasure. This is, I think, the 3rd time you've been on Raconteurs News, and we've enjoyed every single one. Webby, have you got anything to finish off with?
No.
Next week.
Next week on the 6th of November, we've got Sasha Stone coming on, so we'll be able to talk to him about all the hearings that have been going on, the judicial hearings involving the likes of John Wedger, all kinds, really. It's some really good stuff that's coming out down there. So, it's about time we all started talking about it, whether we agree or disagree. It's time we started talking. It's the same with Chris's stuff. It should be.
We don't kill each other, do we?
No, we've got to.
Hang each other for it, do we? But none of
No, but what I'm saying is
this is what the whole world's got to get together. Just because we don't agree with each other, just because we don't believe in the same thing, doesn't make us enemies, does it?
No, not at all. And that's what I'm saying. If you don't want to speak to people, you're never going to find information out.
Of course you're not.
At the very least, one thing that you learn in this world is if you keep your friends close, you keep your enemies closer. If you don't know what they're doing, you're not as armed as you think you are. So
I'm doing, mate. They're everywhere.
That's what I'm saying. So you need to know what's going on, and a lot of people are happy to take the bits of information from the bits of input and output and go with it until something happens. And fortunately, I see, because I talk to a lot of people about this. Some people can't get away from it, and some people want to come and talk to me about it now. And that's changed in 10 years I've been doing it. So I'm looking forward to hearing what was going on with these hearings, because looking at the common law court side that's come down from Scotland, John Smith and all them are doing good work, showing people how people can convene common courts. They've already got convictions. They've just no way, just like the system did what they did to you, Chris, they've no way to enforce those convictions yet. But people are talking and people are communicating like this, and we just got to keep doing our bit, Jason.
Yeah, we certainly will. And we'll be doing it again next week as well, Monday and Tuesday. You just keep our lookout on our Facebook page. Don't forget to like us as well. Give us a like. You know, it makes us feel warm inside. And, you know, every time I see a like that's on one of our shows, I feel a little bit, you know, it's a bit squirty. You know, like I'm going to just burst at any point.
Does it make your pants tight?
We'll be back next week with 2 shows. You've been listening to Raconteurs News number 221 with guest Chris Spivey, Andy Young, Paul Webster, and me, Jason Holmes. We'll see you next week.
Johnson, and you're listening to Raconteurs News. I'm gonna have some fun with this one here. Woo-hoo! In the morning, when I wake up, all I want is Mary Joanna. In the evening, when I'm thinking, all I want is Mary Joanna. If you look in my eyes, you'll see what I've done. Every minute, every hour of every day. But life is like a smoke. In the end, I'm gonna choke. So all I do is live my life from day to day. Oh my God, you know you better watch yourself because I know you're waiting on that one. Cause I'm telling you, cause you know the one that I take over and you let me see you do that run. Run and the one that they clan and the one that done. Cause I know you cannot be me now what you wanna do. Cause I'm about to break it down me, cause that's so like cause you know you cannot trade me now that you wanna. You better back it down now because I'm telling you, cause I cannot wonder. Because you know you like the way you have put that pick up. Cause I'm telling all your fools what I put up. And in the mercy. Now what you wanna do and in the mercy. Now what you wanna do and in the mercy. Now what you wanna do and in the mercy. If you look in my eyes, you'll see what I've done. Every minute, every hour of every day. But life is like a smoke. In the end, I'm gonna choke. So all I do is live my life from day to day. You got to lick it, stick it, bend it, crease it, stack it, burn it, pack it, roll it, poke it, roach it, smoke it, then you pass it to me. You got to lick it, stick it, bend it, crease it, stack it, burn it, pack it, roll it, poke it, roach it, smoke it, then you pass it to me. Come on, baby girl, let's get it going on. I'ma hit the highway, I'm doing it my way. It ain't no game, girl, so I don't play games. I keep it up straight, right up in your face. So make your mind up, cause life is too short. I got the best on, boy, put your belt on. Stop acting all cool like Kanye West, boy. You be riding through the wire and the camera get on fire. You don't want that, no, I don't want that, no. This goes up to pimps and chicks, so slow. Hit the backseat when you're doing the licking, kissing, squeezing. Do the damn thing, man. You got to live it, scoop it, bend it, press it, stack it, burn it, back it, roll on it, touch it, smoke it, rip your ass to me. You got to leave it, scoop it, bend it, press it, stack it, burn it, back it, roll on it, touch it, smoke it, rip your ass to me. You got to live it, scoop it, bend it, press it, stack it, burn it, back it, roll on it, touch it, smoke it, rip your ass to me. You got to live it, stick it, bend it, press it, stack it, burn it, back it, roll on it, roach it, smoke it, rip your ass to me.